last 3 weeks, So there's a balance of that. And then there's a balance of players with lots of test experience. And then there's also a couple of guys who's going to make their debut. So I think when we looked at, obviously, like I said, there's a bigger plan that we have. We had actually in the 6-week block from the start of the preparation camps to the end of the 3 test matches against Wales. So we've got a big plan in our head, or can I say a high view plan. And there's certain boxes that we want to tick. And I think the team that we selected for this week, in terms of balance, in terms of what the boxes we want to tick, I think it's the best team that we could have ticked for that specific reasons.
And Jacques, here in the front. Jacques, just on Damian Willems, last season you used him as a backup 10, 12. He's now back at fullback. Just maybe talk about your plan with him. He played a bit of 15 at the moment, mostly at 12 in the ERC. And then also, Evan Roos, do you see him as primarily an 8, or do you see him somebody that can also move into 7 as well?
Firstly, on Damien, yes, I think Damien for us is similar, a similar project, or since we started with him, the project was almost if you look at what Frans Steyn brings to the team, it's a guy that can play 10, it's a guy that can play 12, a guy that can play 15. I think Damian Willems is probably in that mold for us. And then in terms of Evan, yes, I think he's such a talented player. I'm not sure, I haven't seen him play anything else but 8. But obviously, I think if we pick him at 7, he'll play at 7. If we pick him at lock, he'll play at lock, So I think he's such a talented player with such a good skill set. But yeah, so wherever there's an opportunity, I think, and if we select him, he would take that opportunity, and it doesn't matter what position it is.
Yeah.
Hi, Jacques. I know some of this will be performance sort of based, and you did answer it partly earlier, but how wide would you want to sort of cast the selection net just in this series, ideally?
Yes, if we can get exposure or international or test match exposure to all 42, it would be awesome. And I mean, if you probably ask what's our platinum plan, it will probably be that. But like I say, there's a massive responsibility on the 23 guys that got selected for this week to obviously lay a foundation and to make sure that there's performance. If there's not performance, we have to change our plans. But ultimately, if we can, if it's possible, and if injuries allowed it, the performance allowed it, it would be awesome to give exposure to all 42 guys.
Jacques, sorry, just on Damian Willems again. You mentioned that he's quite a roving type of player, and we've seen actually at the Stormers as well, even though he played at 12, he slotted in different positions at different stages. But just how excited are you to actually have him now in the setup, given a season where he really was the fulcrum together with Warwick Gelant, of that Stormers attack? You must be really excited to see how that growth in the URC, translates to international level.
Yes, now I'm glad for him, because like last year we had a plan with him on the end of year tour, and then unfortunately against Wales, I think he lasted 12 or 13 minutes and he got concussed, and then he wasn't up for selection for the Scotland game, and then obviously we went into England. So yeah, I'm glad, and I hope, touch wood, that things will work out for him this year, and we can give him an extended run. And to get him as much exposure as possible in international rugby. But again, saying the ball is probably in the 23 guys that got selected, scored. They must make sure that there's performance. They must make sure they tick the boxes that we want them to tick.
Jacques, is this the toughest team you've sort of had to select, and how much did you sort of struggle with keeping the old but also bringing in the new as well to the side?
Yeah, I think it was a tough, it was, I said it last week, I think if you look at the 43 guys, or 42, bar Johan Goosen, who's recovering from injury and who was part of us in the first 3 weeks, I think all 42 guys were selected on form. They were in form. When we did their roadmaps, they were the informed players. So it was a tough team selection in terms of getting to a 23. But like I say, we had this plan on what we are trying to achieve within the 6 weeks. So we tick a couple of boxes. Unfortunately, or fortunately, some guys went on and stayed out of our hands for playing in the URC final and stuff like that. Fortunate for them to get exposure into that. But again, on our side, we didn't have coaching time with them. So and now we're in this 3-week test match block with Wales. And yeah, our main thing is yeah, it was a tough team selection. I think if you could have selected other guys, the players that got mentioned today, and they wouldn't have dropped the team. But hopefully, if things go according to plan, we will see them in somewhere in the near future operating for the Boks.
Jacques, over here. You saw a few of the Welsh players, obviously on the Lions tour, some of the big names out here last year. Which players from that tour who you'll be seeing this weekend were you impressed by?
Yeah, no, I think I'm impressed with Wales. We've always said, and I know people say, listen, yeah, Jacques probably trying to get the team not to probably listen to the media. But I mean, I can only go on reality. And like you said, there was a big contingency of that Wales team, of the British and Irish Lions, were Welsh players. And then also the reality is, yes, Wales lost the last 4 games in the Six Nations. Six Nations. But I think if you look at the last 4 games, I mean, it was a 2-point a year against France, or 4 points against France, 4 points against England in Twickenham. You know, it's a 2-point year. And yes, yes, they did lose against Italy. But the reality is, yes, they did lose 4 games. Their last 4 games, but also the reality is, listen, they were within a try of winning those games. So again, Wales is also always a tough test match for us, and I expect. I'm not going to single out players, but I think they've got a well-balanced side. They've got lots of experience. I mean, if you look at the squad they brought here, I think the average test cap within that squad is 36. So they know what they do, and I don't think it's going to be a tough test.
Just secondly, were you surprised to see Alan Wynne-Jones stripped of the captaincy for this tour? Obviously, such an experienced figure.
No, like I say, I think it would be irresponsible for me to comment on decisions Wales make, just like they won't in the team that we selected. Obviously, they've got certain things that they want to tick going and building into a World Cup, just like we have. You know, and there's a thought process around it, and they've got experienced coaching staff that's worked together for a long time since Scarlets. So I'm sure they have their reasons and they have their plans.
Guys, just a reminder, we've got 10 minutes left in English questions. Salmaan is here as well. He's making his debut off the bench if he takes to the field. So feel free to fire some questions his way as well. Brendan?
Jacques, so just on Jasper, he's obviously had an amazing season in the UK. He's also a long-term project. You guys used him at 8 last year. Maybe just talk a bit about him and what got him the nod ahead of maybe an Elric and Eva.
Yeah, I think Jasper, like you rightly say, he's also a project. You know, he's. Let me just check. I think yeah, he's on 11 caps now. You know, so. And if you think of a long-term playing, taking players to the World Cup, you would like some more international caps within him. And this is one opportunity that he's had now. Yeah, and he's been awesome. Like I say, we do roadmaps or performance analysis on every single player that's in the squad in detail. Salmaan won't talk out about that, but I mean, he will know. They get reports on that once a month, or whenever we feel there's a little bit of a gap, we will have a chat with the players. So, I mean, and the same with Jasper, and he's been performing quite well for Leicester, and also in the things that we want him to perform in. So, not the finished project yet, like a lot of these players, or a lot of our players, and like I say, they're projects, and there's certain things that we would like them to achieve in this 3 weeks, if they get the opportunity to play, and also the things that we would like them to achieve is not necessarily playing in the test match. It's also they've got a role and responsibility to play when they're not in the test match. You know, in preparing the guys who is in the test, the test 23. So there's a lot of things that we would like to see if the players can handle, and that will probably give them, put them in a good position to take them forward into next year's World Cup.
A couple of questions. First, very quick one from you, Jacques. Just to clarify, not wishing any ill on anyone, but Elton Yankees is injured. Hamstring goes in the first 5 minutes. Who comes into 10? Is it your new France stain? Yes or no?
No, we will have to see, and let's hope that doesn't happen.
Well, let's hope it doesn't, but you know the answer to that.
Yes, I know, but I would probably...
Are you basically saying, you're not saying? No. Right. I just want to give a chance to Salmaan to tell us, particularly for the benefit of the overseas journalists here, can you just talk through a bit of your rugby journey? Where did you start? Where did you get your big break? How has it happened for you?
Excuse me, guys, I don't have much of a voice. Yeah, so for me, I had the privilege of working with Coach Jacques at SS Schools. So I think that's where my journey started with Coach. Then fast forward a couple of years, I got the privilege of joining the team last year. Got to know the structures, got to know how they do things around here. So it's been a good journey. I've had a couple of injuries along the way, but I guess that's part of the game. And you know, hopefully Saturday the boys can do well, and we all can get an opportunity to go into the field.
What does it mean to you to play for the Springboks?
It's an absolute dream come true. It's obviously a very emotional moment for myself and my family. It's been something that I've been working towards for a very long time, and the opportunity is here right now, and it's all about, you know, contributing to the team, knowing my role, not doing anything flashy, just knowing my role and executing that.
Yes, Salmaan, well done, congratulations. And yes, the question actually preempted my question: is this your specific objectives for Saturday? In terms of that, unfortunately, I think you won't need much of your voice, most of your body, which is a good thing.
Yeah, the great thing of being in this environment is that before you go into a test match, you know exactly what your role is, and you are expected to execute that. You're not expected to do more than that. So, like I said earlier, it's just about executing that role, and hopefully I don't need to use my voice as much.
Congratulations, Salmaan. If I can just ask Jacques, what do you see in the young man next to you there? What do you like about him as a player?
No, listen, obviously, like Salmaan said, when is that? When did we... 2015. Yeah, we've been operating together since 2015. So obviously, Salmaan, he's been a leader, Stormers and at junior level, you know, with the junior box. So his leadership comes to mind, and he's a good human being. So let's start there. He's a hard worker, and like I say, he's coachable, and he brings nice physicality, which we would like. So yeah, no, that's the things that stand out for me from Salmaan.
Guys, we've got about 3 minutes left in English questions, so I think we'll take 2 more of those before we switch to Afrikaans.
One for Jacques. Obviously, the hope is that Loftus is going to sell out on the weekend. As an outsider, help me understand and explain to me what this team means to the people of this country.
Yeah, I don't know. You must ask them, but I would say, obviously, from our side, and I've said it before, listen, representing your country is massive, you know, and playing for a brand like the Springboks, who's been part of this country for over 100 years, you know, is massive. And we don't take that responsibility lightly. And yeah, we just want, if people look at us from the outside, they must be proud South African. So the performance that we want to, and I'm not talking win or lose here, I'm just talking about the performance that we put out on Saturday must be something that South Africans will be proud of, you know. And we've got a certain DNA in South Africa. I'm talking people, not rugby style or style of play or anything like that. Yeah, we would, if people look at us, they must see that's proudly South African out there. So yeah, I don't know what we mean to them, but that's what the people mean to us. You know, they support us through thick and thin, and in good times and bad times. So yeah, they give us a lot of inspiration. And sometimes things are tough in South Africa, you know, in terms of we being part of a third world country, and for people to bring their whole families to a test match, it's not cheap. And that's what I mean. What we want to mean to them is, listen, we want to repay them with something that they would be proud of.
Coach Jacques, playing at Loftus Versfeld in the opening game against Wales, do you expect there to be a big advantage in terms of altitude? We've seen how many teams tend to fault in the latter stages of games.
Yeah, I think altitude is similar to playing conditions abroad. You know, that's the home ground that you have, is that we have altitude. When we go to Cardiff, I think if we look at the game we played there last year, it was lashing rain. Because of COVID, the roof was open, you know. So, and for us again, as you can see, playing in rain is not something that we do often. So, just as we have to adapt to the playing conditions over there, they'll probably have to adapt to the playing conditions over here. And if we go into a preparation when we play Wales in Wales or in Cardiff, obviously we tick a couple of boxes to make sure that we are prepared. In different ways, and wetting the ball and stuff like that, and they would have done the same. I think they would have done everything in their power to make sure that they have done as much altitude training as possible. But yes, it is a little bit different, and it's something that they won't be used to, or that they won't have been experienced or exposed to that as often. But I must say, that's a nice thing of the URC. I think just like we get experience now playing in conditions up north, the teams of the north will get experience playing in conditions in South Africa.
Salmaan, you've got two very experienced locks in front of you, starting in front of you, and Ebenezer and Lut Diaga. Is that a comforting thought for you, or does it put a bit more pressure on you?
I think it's obviously it's a comforting factor. Playing with players like that, you know, they've helped me throughout this week, and they'll continue to help me throughout this week. So for me, it's just about it's just to rub off on them, take advice from them, and like I said earlier, just execute my job. But it's really a plus to be playing with players like them.
Okay guys, we are going to switch to Afrikaans now, so if you do have Afrikaans questions, please put up your hands, and then obviously if we do have a little bit of time at the end, we could squeeze in one or two more English questions.
Jacques, net kortliks, André Pollard, wat was die gevoel gewees dat hy net nie genoeg tyd gehad het vir die span na Vrydag aand nie, en as jy vertrou dat met die nuwe 10-15 dat hulle takties wel as maar druk kan sit met hulle skopwerk?
Ja, ek dink ja, soos ek sê, ons het probeer 'n balans kry om spelers te kies of om 'n 23 te kies waar daar's 'n klomp wat ons afgerig het van vir 3 weke nou al, en dan sal ook 'n paar wat ons nie afgerig het nie, wat nou min kontaktyd met ons gehad het. So ons het probeer om daai balans te handhaaf. En ja, ek dink ja, Elton en Damien is uitstekende spelers. Albei van hulle het al baie experience saam met ons, en kom al van 2018 af saam met ons. So ja, ek is seker hulle sal reg wees om ons vorentoe te dryf, om die pak vorentoe te vat, ja.
Jacques, is seker maklik vir sekere mense om soos te sê, Willie Leroux is nou op die bank en dinge, maar die punt is eintlik die feit dat mense so fyn kalibrasie het, jy weet, van 'n sterk, ek wil amper sê kern, jy weet, ontwikkel en dan nuwe ouens stadig gaan inbring, is dat nou het jy die punt bereik waar jy nuwe ouens 'n kans kan gee, en dan het jy nog die versekeringspolis van 'n ou wat 72 caps het wat jy net van die bank af kan bring. Dis seker eintlik jy weet eintlik die hoogtepunt, jy weet, van daai, ek wil amper sê selection.
Ja, ek dink oor Willie, ja, ek bedoel Willie het baie ervaring. Hy bring baie deur die week in terme van sy kennis wat hy oordra aan die jonger spelers, en jy weet Willie, ek weet baie mense het baie goed te sê oor Willie, maar Willie, as jy kyk na Willie, as jy gaan kyk na ek weet nie hoeveel die bokke druk al vanaf ons in 2018 saam is nie, so dis miskien 'n goeie projek om te gaan na kyk, maar ek dink jy moet gaan kyk na hoeveel keer het Willie die laaste paas gemaak vir ons om 'n 3 te druk, jy weet, so obviously vir 'n ou om dit te doen, moet jy spasie sien en dan moet jy moet kan create, jy weet, en dit doen Willie baie goed vir ons, en soos ek gesê het, ons doen hierdie performance analysis op die spelers, jy weet, en Willie is uitstekend in sommige areas waarna ons kyk, en hy laat van die spelers wat saam teen hom kompeteer in daai areas, laat hy redelik average lyk, jy weet, in sekere goed. Net soos hulle weer in ander areas weer 'n bietjie, miskien miskien 'n bietjie beter is as hy, maar ek dink Willie was nog altyd vir ons uitstekend. Ek dink